Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. There was an interview with Star Citizen's live game director, Todd Papy, going over a load of new Star Citizen content coming with 3.6, plans for the future, short-term game design, and updates on the game. This is a summary and breakdown of that information. VoIP and VoIP, so face over IP and voice over IP, is still being refined and worked on. There are some additional improvements coming with 3.6, but they're going to keep on working on it beyond that. Shareable missions are not part of 3.6. They need to take care of some baseline bits and edge cases before shareable missions will be in-game. In broad terms, with the law system, they will define laws of the star system that they're in, and then areas within that star system will either have more laws added or taken away, depending on what area or station or landing zone that you are in. They are working out what constitutes a crime in each individual area, as well as getting edge cases sorted out properly. So is bumping a ship really a crime? And if so, then by how much? How much criminal do you get for tapping a ship? There's going to be areas that will flag illicit goods, so certain goods, certain commodities in certain areas will have the AI scanning you, and if you are detected having those goods, they will take appropriate action, which will be like giving you a criminal record or chasing you or attacking you. They may stop you and scan you with the new system, basically, and customs areas aren't going to be functional in 3.6. In the future, we might see customs areas on planets literally scanning you as you're going through, and you'll be able to hide goods upon your person. Quantum travel can be long. This will be based on the size and type of quantum engine. Typically, the smaller engines will take a lot longer. There may be interesting events that occur and happen during traveling in the future, though. Todd would like them to include distress signals, anomalies, exploration, points of interest, risk of attacks. Obviously, there is the chance of quantum interdiction now, but they want to develop that further. Repairs and maintenance, the sort of stuff that you might be walking around doing stuff with your ship. Obviously, you'll be able to interact with your mobiGlas, but there'll be things for players to do when they are traveling long distances. And some of these things to do could just be enticing players to come out of quantum travel rather than forcing them to come out of quantum travel because of an interdiction or something like that. And there might be missions and things like that are present themselves as you are traveling around a system. Harvestable entity spawning tech will be there for 3.6, and they will make further iterations to it for 3.7. Crates, loots, minables, gems, this will control the spawning of items like that, but also could be used to spawn object containers like whole derelicts of ships or mission areas. They want items and lootables to be locally carried rather than placed into a safe global inventory as well. So there are a lot more potential uses for the harvestable entity spawning tech and what it can control, which they will look at in the future. Server meshing and server-side object container streaming is being worked on right now. There are things on the roadmap that aren't visible to us that are either planned or coming out in the roadmap in one of the patches that we can already see. And there's also lots of stuff that they're working on that just doesn't fall into any of the dates they currently have on the roadmap, or they don't know exactly where it's going to fall, so they haven't put it on yet. Being a priority does not necessarily mean that a feature is going to be finished next patch. There are things that can take 2 or more quarters that are still a priority for them. The new sign distance shield tech looks to be very much hugging closer to a ship's hull. Some players have been complaining of a film grain type effect and post-process that eats up system resources and doesn't look great. I actually think it's a lighting and fog subtle effect issue that sort of like snuck its way in as a bug. It's extremely subtle, but Cloud Imperium are now aware of it. Hopefully they'll get something to fix it or explain what it is exactly. With the render to texture con calls and other systems that use those MFDs and sort of like displays, they want something that indicates where there's going to be an area with interference. So you will see static comms in the future. You will see if you're too close to something that's causing interference, you will get a visual indicator of that on your ship's systems. They are aware that missions aren't paying out enough. They are working on a way to get better feedback for mission rewards. They are considering quantum travel times, difficulty, and balance when it comes to payouts. These are things that they want to be able to change on the fly and hot fix in without actual patching, so that you can actually just change it server side. There are different HUD layouts and layers for wearing helmets, visors, no helmets. They're still working out exactly what data they want to expose to players information-wise when it comes to these HUDs. It's important that certain info is relayed at all levels. The Mobi-Glass, a ship and vehicle, or other items can all share information between HUDs, but at all levels you probably want to know if you've been hit or injured and stuff like that. There will be helmets or items that focus on combat HUDs, exploration HUDs, and other focused for particular gameplay. The UIs, the user interfaces they have at the moment are functional, but they want them to look a lot better and have a lot more quality of life improvements. This also includes what scanning information is exposed to players and things like that as well, so that a lot of that stuff is undergoing a rework at the moment. They want to encourage the players to not be in full suits of heavy armor all the time when operating a ship. They foresee players running around in flight suits when piloting, or like aboard a constellation, running around until they need to put on helmets and need to put on armor. Currently, you can only spawn at new major locations if you travel there. In the future, they want players to be able to choose their initial spawn point. Player Carryables 2.0 expands what can be picked up and how it can be interacted with. It's a prerequisite for local inventories. This will also see animations, grips, and items get cleaned up and refined for players to interact with them. Expect more things that we can interact with, and the animations for them to look a lot better. The personal inner thought system will allow you to do various actions, emotes, interact with items that you have on you. The personal inner thought system is on the backlog at the moment. Obviously, they do want to get that out at some point. Weapon attachments is the customization of FPS weapons, including sights, barrel, underbarrel, magazines of various types for each of those categories. So we'll see lots and lots of different types of customization under those categories. They are working on that functionality currently. Ship rentals in 3.6 will allow players to try out new ships for a period of time in the persistent universe. They haven't decided on a rental period yet, whether it's 1, 3, or 7 days, or different options that you can choose. They are working out exactly what would happen if you have cargo on board when your rental runs out, or if you're still using a ship and your rental runs out, do you just get teleported somewhere, or does your ship disappear, stuff like that. And obviously costs and exactly where you're able to get everything is all still in flux at the second. Multi-tool 3.6, so they're planning on getting the attachments for weapons working first, and then they're going to move on to finishing off the multi-tool or getting more function for it. They want the tool to be able to weld, cut, maybe mine and salvage, things like that. It's going to be very useful for the game, sort of like for repairs and you know, multiple uses, multi-tool. Mission system, so they've been talking about exposing more mission information to players, where a mission is, how difficult it is, what ships and requirements and group size is suggested before you take the mission, and obviously some of that information more easily exposed when you've taken the mission. It's something that they're keeping in mind for the future. Misfires in 3.6. You might get minor misfires at maybe 30 to 50% item wear or so, then more worn items become much more likely to misfire, and for those misfires to be more major. The quality of an item may also affect this, at what sort of percentage that you will start to get misfires in. They are going to be giving players the information showing where a misfire has occurred, so you will have some form of feedback on that. When we repair items in the future, we might not get 100% of the item repaired again without replacing the item. So every time you repair it, it might get less and less sort of like maximum repair. This is going to be based on a lot of factors. How many misfires has the item had? How old is it? How worn is it? This should mean that components have a life expectancy before having to get replaced, thus driving the economy. And it's not likely to be a very short period of time. It's probably going to be very, very long. And if you look after the components really well and repair it often or clean it often or whatever, then you're less likely to have problems. And some items are going to be very, very, very durable. You will be able to buy refurbished and cheaper items in-game as well. They are going to be doing some work on the cockpit experience, how ships feel when they're traveling, the lighting effects, quantum travel, interdiction effects, stuff like that. They are planning to continue having no-fly zones in the future to prevent griefing and to keep players in certain areas. When over city planets or major landing zones, these are most important and probably the only places that you will see them. They want to keep on improving the system though, and they've talked about having spline paths and an augmented a reality like flight corridor for players when they're coming down to these large landing zones that players will then sort of like have to follow or stay within, and when you're landing or taking off. And if you move out of that, then an autopilot will pull you back into that corridor. Green zones are where weapons can't be drawn or fired. Green zones will be removed in the future and replaced with law, security, and defense. Players will have the choice of pulling out their gun or firing their ship when in a green zone or an area that is protected, but will be punished accordingly if discovered by security while doing it, in an area where it's prohibited, obviously. Bringing in a weapon to some landing zones in itself might be a crime. The landing systems and air traffic control systems will be polished in the future. At the moment, everything's sort of like being thrown together and getting into a place where it's functional before then being refined. They don't want players to be able to relocate ships without them being physically moved or reclaimed, as they don't want players to be able to take shortcuts and exploit cargo hauling gameplay. We might see service beacons for players moving ships in the future, though. Stuff like that, you'll certainly be able to have friends fly your ships from one location to another. But again, that is a way out. In 3.5 now, Todd identifies combat in general still needs work, especially for ships. So that's like missiles, convergence of weapons, balance, pips, lots of edge cases, lots and lots of combat-related things. They are still using feedback to help them solve a load of these problems. Some of these bugs and issues are solvable in a 3.5 branch and 3.5.1 live of the game, and the short term, but other parts need new tech or other features to come together to get them in a better place. Star Citizen's agile development has upsides and downsides. It makes use of the community to help the game, but the 3-month cycles and trying to get certain features out ASAP and within that cycle is a challenge. Once they have a patch content locked, they typically have 6 weeks before it's planned to go live. Evocati typically come in 4 weeks before a live build, and then they have to have a lot of stuff ready or working and planned, ready for that first wave PTU. It's a whole different ball game apparently, and it's very different from what a lot of the staff have previously done before in terms of game development. That did cover pretty much everything that they talked about, but links to the full video down below if you want to watch that in more detail. I'll also link an article that I've made going through everything we just talked about as well. Every month we have a ship giveaway on the channel for May 2019. It's for another Drake Corsair exploration ship, donated in the name of the People's Radio. They are a 24/7 radio station providing music in the Verse News and in law commercials, and are operated by the People's Alliance of Levski. To be in for a chance of winning that ship, be subscribed to my YouTube channel and comment on any of my videos made during the month. Links to the People's Radio and more information on the giveaway in the description below. If you are looking for a gaming PC or to upgrade, then instead consider Shadow Cloud gaming PCs, which leverage your internet connection and a data center to turn any device, your old PC, a phone, a tablet, a laptop, whatever, into a powerful Windows 10 gaming environment. It's subscription-based, so won't break the bank, and is a fantastic alternative to buying your own PC. If you are looking for a VPN, then I use NordVPN as well. It's mega cheap, allows me to upload, play games, browse with more security and privacy than I would otherwise have. For both of those, links are below, and use the code BoredGamer to receive a discount on either. BoredGamer is supported by its community via Patreon, the YouTube join button, Subscribestar, Twitch, direct donations, people throwing ships at me. Massive thank you to everyone that goes that extra mile to support me. It genuinely does help. Just like everything else, links are below for people that would like to get involved with that as well. But if you want to give feedback, there are details there that you can get onto my Discord, discord.gg/BoredGamer, or contact@boredgamer.co.uk if you want to send me an email. Just get in contact, give me feedback. Whatever your thoughts, I'd love to hear from you.